say it happened after this drive-by shooting Sunday morning that killed 21-year-old Brianna Johnson, known on social media as DreamDoll Bri.
The ambulance! Bring the ambulance here!
Police say she was inside a green Lamborghini that was riddled with bullets after a white BMW pulled alongside it, fired several shots before taking off. The Lambo then crashed into a home.
She had just posted a video 5 days before she died. Not a goodbye, not a warning. Just her living her normal life online the same way she always did. And less than a week later, she's gone, along with a cousin she grew up with, both of them killed in the same car, on the same morning, by someone who is still out there right now. This is a case of DreamDoll Bri. And today we're not just telling you what happened. We're digging into the one detail that might actually explain why. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit subscribe, tap that bell icon, because we cover cases like this one all the time, and you don't want to miss what comes next. This is Crime Files. Here's what makes this case different from a lot of the ones we cover. Usually with a shooting like this, the first question is, was this random? Was this just someone in the wrong place at the wrong time? But police came out early and said something that changed the whole shape of the story. They said this wasn't random. They said whoever did this wanted that specific car, which means somewhere in Brianna Johnson's last few hours alive, something happened that made her a target. And that's the piece we're going to spend this video trying to understand. Let's start with who she actually was, because I think it matters here more than usual. Brianna Johnson, 21 years old, grew up in Pompano Beach, Florida. She and her cousin, Arthur Lee Johnson III, who everybody called AJ, were basically raised together. There's actually a photo of the two of them together at a high school event back in 2023. Just two teenagers hanging out years before any of this. That photo is circulating now, and it hits different once you know how this ends. Online, Brianna went by DreamDoll Bri, sometimes It Girl Bri. She built an audience of close to 500,000 people across TikTok and Instagram, mostly posting lifestyle content, videos with her friends, her family, and especially her sister. She wasn't some overnight viral fluke either. She'd been consistent, posting regularly, staying connected with her fans. In fact, her last TikTok video went up just 5 days before the shooting. She was still fully in it, still living her regular life, right up until the very end. And she was starting to branch out too. Earlier this year, in March, she was featured on a song called Bend Over by her friend, rapper Saturday Racks. That song blew up as a TikTok sound, the kind you hear everywhere, without even clocking whose voice it is. So by the time we reach July, Brianna isn't just an influencer anymore. She's become a name in her own right, with a cousin by her side who'd known her their whole lives. That's the version of her life that existed just hours before everything changed. Now, let's walk through the night itself, because this is where the picture actually gets complicated. This wasn't a straight line from a party to a shooting. Police say the group made several stops that night. First, a mansion party at an Airbnb nearby. Then, at some point, a nightclub, and then not one but two separate gas station stops. Think about that for a second. That's a lot of movement. A lot of different locations, a lot of different people who could have crossed paths with them. And somewhere in all of that, at one of those gas stations, a fight broke out. We don't know the full details of that fight. We don't know who started it, or whether it involved strangers or people they already knew. What we do know is that it happened. It was caught on video, and it happened roughly an hour before the shooting. Now, here's the tension in this case, the thing investigators themselves haven't fully answered. Is that gas station fight the reason 3 people got shot an hour later? Or is it a coincidence, sitting right in the middle of an otherwise unrelated attack? Because here's the uncomfortable truth about cases like this. Sometimes the most obvious connection isn't the real one. Sometimes it is. And until police confirm it, we're left holding 2 possibilities at once. What we do know for certain is what happened next. Around 5:30 in the morning, the 3 of them were riding in Brianna's lime green Lamborghini Urus, heading towards Sunshine Boulevard, a car most people would notice anywhere, at any hour. And as they approached the intersection of Southwest 27 Court and Sunshine Boulevard, a white sedan pulled up right alongside the driver's side. And then it opened fire, more than a dozen shots by some accounts, striking all 3 people inside. This is the part that should stop you for a second. A dozen or more shots. That's not a warning. That's not someone firing wildly and hoping to scare somebody off. That is someone who wanted to make absolutely sure. The Lamborghini kept moving for about a block afterward before running through a stop sign and slamming into the front yard of a nearby home. Neighbors woke up to the sound of it. One woman said her mother heard the gunfire and thought it was leftover fireworks from the holiday weekend, until she realized it wasn't. Officers were already on their way because of the city's ShotSpotter system, and when they arrived, they found the crashed SUV with all 3 victims critically injured inside. They were rushed to Memorial Regional Hospital. Brianna did not survive. AJ was listed in critical condition. The 3rd passenger, still unidentified publicly, was also critical. In the hours after, TMZ obtained the 911 calls, and they are hard to sit through. A man is heard screaming, "Please help me, please help me, please," over and over, while a woman cries in the background. That's the real sound of this case. Not a headline, not a follower count, just people who watch their friends get shot, begging for help to arrive in time. Miramar's police chief, Delrish Moss, said something publicly that ended up shaping how this whole case is being understood. He said investigators didn't believe the neighborhood itself was ever in danger. This wasn't random gunfire sprayed into a community. He said whoever did this specifically wanted that car. Not the block, not the street. That car. Sit with that for a second, because it means somebody made a very deliberate decision that morning, and they made it with intent. And then came the twist that turned this from a tragic shooting into something even heavier. 2 days after the attack, police confirmed the 2nd victim, the one still fighting in a hospital, had died. And it wasn't just anyone. It was AJ, Brianna's cousin. The same cousin she'd been raised alongside since they were kids. The same cousin in that photo from high school. Both of them gone days apart, but killed in the exact same instant on the exact same street. 8.J.'s father, Arthur Johnson, too, came forward publicly not long after, and he wanted to shut something down immediately. Online, rumors had already started spreading, the kind that always seem to show up after a shooting like this, suggesting his son might have had gang ties, that maybe this was retaliation for something. He said, plainly, "I raised those kids. They weren't troublemakers. Imagine having to defend your son's character in public while you're still learning how to breathe without him." The 3rd victim survived, but not without permanent damage. He was eventually released from the hospital after having his jaw wired shut. 3 people got into that car that night. Only one of them is still here to tell us what actually happened, and he hasn't spoken publicly yet. So where does this leave the investigation? Detectives are still working the gas station angle, trying to determine if that altercation is truly connected to the shooting or just an unfortunate coincidence in the timeline. They're combing through surveillance footage from homes and businesses along the route, and they're using license plate reader data to try to track the movements of that white sedan, which some police radio transmissions describe as a white or even dark pink 4-door BMW. Once the surviving passenger is medically able, investigators plan to interview him directly, because right now, he may be the only person alive who actually knows what happened in the seconds before the shooting. As of the most recent update, there have been no arrests, no suspects named, no vehicle recovered. Miramar police have said the investigative reports and body camera footage are not being released publicly while the case remains active. A $5,000 reward is being offered for tips through the Miramar Police Homicide Tip Line or Broward Crime Stoppers. Whoever did this is still out there, and 2 families in Pompano Beach are left waiting for answers that haven't come yet. So let's really think about this one, because I don't think this is just a story about shooting. I think it's a story about how fast a normal night can turn into something irreversible. A party, a stop for gas, an argument that probably felt like nothing at the time, and an hour later, 2 people are dead. How often does a small, forgettable conflict, the kind that happens in parking lots and gas stations every single day, end up being the exact thing that changes everything? What does it say about a person that they're willing to track down a car and open fire more than a dozen times over something that started as an argument? And when police say the neighborhood was never really in danger, that this was only ever about that one car. What does that tell us about how personal, how targeted this kind of violence really is? I want to hear what you think. Do you believe that gas station fight is the key to this whole case? Or do you think something else was going on that we haven't even heard about yet? Drop your theory in the comments. I read every single one. And if this case has you thinking the way it's got me thinking, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, so you're notified the moment we get an update, and share this with someone who needs to hear Brianna and AJ's story. Their families are still waiting for answers. Someone out there knows exactly what happened on Sunshine Boulevard that morning. Until next time, this has been Crime Files.